taking for granted all these like moments like of people including me, or exact opposite of the hurts of just like, I just feel like it's been always so generous or something. And I just wonder if that's different communities have different statuses about how trusting they are or not trusting they are of outsiders or whatever.
Were your parents teachers?
Yeah, so they were English professors. Interestingly, my dad got the job as the English professor, and then my mom, there was one just so rare that another one would open up or whatever, and then they were like, we're going to sit on this for 30 years, and make a life out of it or whatever. Because it would just be so rare in a rural campus for 2 full-time English positions. Like, you already have one. And then it's just such a, I didn't think of it as like unusual or something, but to just have your parents like work at the same exact workplace and their offices are right next to each other, and like our house is right next to their office, and then the school is one more street over, and it's just this like the center of the world is just like so clear or whatever. Like that's so, I didn't realize that people like kiss their like husband goodbye and like they go in a car and they drive for 45 minutes and then like that's just so different. Like, I feel like that's what my lateness is due to. Like I'm kind of a late person is because I never understood like a commute, because I'd just be like, okay, I'm at school, so like, and like, or like, I don't know, there's no time. I know, or I never had to worry about forgetting something at home, because I'd be like, oh, just run home and grab it, or like my parents were just right there. We would like get off of school and then go through the Chukchi campus, say hi to them, but then I would just walk through their back door of their office and go to my house, and it's just like this little like existence of just like going around in circles, sometimes go to the store. I don't know.
Which is also just a couple blocks away.
Yeah. We were right in the middle, and I was always sort of like, the middle is a good place for like to live on a peninsula and just be right in the middle. Yeah, I just never realized that it was so unusual compared to the usual, I guess, American experience or something of work and commuting and like dropping kids off at like soccer practice, and it's like you just have to drive all the time, and like the driving, I don't really get driving that much either. Just that feels like a lot.
I think it's weird because like we grow up like watching TV, right? And you kind of get this idea of like mainstream America. Yeah.
A football team, like we didn't have a football team, but I'd be like, that's what high school's like. Footballs and cheerleaders.
Yeah, and then like those weird cliques at school and stuff like that never happened in Barrow. That never happened until I went to Edgecombe. I feel like when I went to Edgecombe, that's when I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about on TV.
Yeah, totally.
I was like, okay, this is strange. But like, you get this idea of like what life is, but it's on TV, right? So you don't think it's real life, but like it is real life.
Yeah, just that's interesting that you bring up just like that weirdly like seeing the experiences that you're supposed to be quote unquote having in your life on TV, and you're not, that's not reality, but then you're sort of like that, there's like this expectation that you're supposed to fulfill this thing that's not even you or related to you at all or something. And so I kind of like had to realize that nothing was ever going to be really normal. Like, I mean, that's also if you like spend the summers in a like broken down motorhome, you should know early on your life is not going to be normal.
Exactly.
Why would I ever expect that?
Did you? So like when I went to college, there were a lot of people that asked me questions about growing up in Alaska, and like they were so interested about that. Did you receive any of that?
I actually had some like kind of sad moments with that, where like I felt like people would ask, or like they'd say, "Where are you from?" and I'd say Alaska, and they'd be like, you guys live in igloos, ha 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 ha, and then it would just like turn towards like whatever they were talking about before, and like I almost wanted to be like, well, like wanting to tell people about who I am a little bit or something, but also like having, I don't know, it's interesting because like it's so different, because when somebody would come up to me and meet me, obviously from the way I look, they're not going to make assumptions about me. So I almost have the privilege of being able to take off, any of my experiences I had before growing up in Kotzebue or anything like that. I can just take it off, and I thought of myself as like, well, this is just Portland Tiffany, and she doesn't have any connection to, what happened before. Wow. And that's a privilege because people aren't assuming that, or like they're not going to have all these invasive, weird questions or have like hurtful moments like Jackie had. There were some people that were just sort of, they just weren't that interested or something. And so the disinterest made me feel bad, but at the same time, the over-interest into sort of like just invasive, weird questions, like I feel like that would feel so much worse even. So, yeah, and then it's just uncomfortable to like be a spokesperson for the experience too, and be like, let me tell you how it is up there, because people seem to like to feel comfortable asking about it because they're asking a white or like non-native person about it. Like I'm going to tell them the real insight or something, or the insider's view, the real scoop, yeah. And it's like, but then like, if people are interested, what am I giving them? Maybe I should have to do that so that they're not putting it on Indigenous people all the time to ask about their experience. So it's like I don't want to be a spokesperson, but and I don't want to take, talk over anybody. But I also feel like maybe I should absorb some of that, It's just hard to know how to respond to it. Like, I have had this experience of going back to Kotzebue as an adult and having people say, where are you from? And I try to, like, at first I was kind of, like, hurt, and I was like, okay, why are you hurt? Like, you don't need to be hurt. It's just, like, a regular question people ask or whatever. But, like, everybody is sort of, like, going around, like, making assumptions and, like asking where are you from or not asking where are you from is because they've made an assumption. And it doesn't bother me that much. It's just an awkward way to say, like, here? I'm from here. Or, like, Kotzebue or whatever. And so, like, I had to do that, and, like, it's fine. I don't even get, like, it doesn't bother me anymore. But I did have this one time where somebody didn't believe me. I was like, oh, I'm from here. And they're like, no, you're not. You're from Texas. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm from here. Oh my picture's in the yearbook, sir, And they're like, no, you're probably from, like, Georgia or Texas or something. And I was just like, that's fine. It's fine.
It's interesting, too, because it's like when they respond in that way, like usually, like it's towards somebody that's not white, and they're like, but where are you really from?
Yeah, I know.
And like just kind of like adding into like, but where are you really from? But it's like you actually are really from Kotzebue.
Yeah, and I would never make an equivalency between those two things because clearly, like, I still always am the person like with racial privilege in that situation. And so my little hurts aren't equivalent to somebody who's, like, always asked their whole life, where are you really from, in, like, most of the spaces, like, in this country are, like, white spaces, Like, I just kind of want to, like, put this, like, statement out there so for, like, other non-native people that are in these communities. It's okay to have hurts, but they don't belong in a conversation about, like, racial equity, kind of. Or, like, they don't really belong in, like, you could talk to a friend or a therapist about it, but you don't need to bring it up when, like, Alaska Native people or Indigenous people are having a conversation about their identity or reconnection or reclaiming or whatever. You don't need to be like, well, as a white person, I think this, or I felt hurt, because it's not hurt. Like, it's marginalization is not just, like, feeling bad about yourself, or it's not just, like, a hurt feelings. It's much more than that. So I try to, like, feel my hurts because then I can move past them. But, like, never think that my hurts are somehow reverse racism or something, because I don't believe in that concept. Like, I don't even want, like, it's like I don't even want to give any energy to it, because it's so ridiculous to think that people are, like... But sometimes when people ask me, that's what they're looking for. They want to, like, know that there's reverse racism happening, and I just am very proud to, like, lean into it and be like, nope, it's not a thing, And there are people that have been white minorities that have tried to use that in an argument with me and be like, well, I went to an all whatever school, and people were racist to me, and I'm just like, no, they weren't. And they're like, but they were, and you don't know because, and I'm like, I do know what it's like to be a white minority, and you still didn't experience racism. And, like, I just don't, I'm like, there's no formula for, like, somebody coming to the conclusions I've come to, too, because there's so many people in our community that still don't get that they have the privilege. And so, like, it kind of bothers me, because I'm sort of like, how do I get it across to these people that, despite the fact that their scholarships for specifically for tribal members and stuff, they're there for a reason, and it's not
like job preference
or job preference. Yeah, it's like not because that's not racism against you. That's like you already have the privilege. Like, I don't know. It's so hard to like get people to acknowledge their privilege, and I think maybe something to do with my personality maybe makes it just a little bit easier for me to maybe it was just set up that way or something. And I'm also like not perfect. I've gone through and been like a little bit like I've had moments where I'm like, well, I didn't mean it that way, or I've had moments where I'm like, I don't act like that, or like not all white people. Like I have like this moment where I want to be that way, and I just sit with it, and then I like accept the idea, and then I move on. And like I just wish more people would think twice before they speak or whatever, I guess. Yeah.
But like that idea of questioning like your home, like where you're from, I feel like that would be a really like personal experience to be like, if someone in my community asked me where I'm from, I'd be like, I'm from here.
Yeah.
You know, like I was born and raised here. You saw me like at July 4 games running races.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You know
what's interesting is when I was first kind of back for the first couple years, I'm just a very like sensitive and emotional person too, so I would have these moments where it'd be like this thing like, who are you or where are you from or whatever, and it would go towards like I feel a little excluded or something because somebody's like, oh, or like, the extreme of that was sort of like, no, you're not from here or something. And the kids, like, worked at the school, and the kids will be like, no way, you're not. And I'll be like, my picture's up there or whatever. Or like, I made that fish that's hanging up in the, like, whatever. It's my name, go look, And then, like, other people that are my friends, they know that maybe I, like, could get a little sensitive about it. And so some of my friends will be like Jackie will be like, she's from Kotzebue, like she'll just say it like right away or whatever, knowing that like I don't want to like be, I don't know, like want to sit there and make it a thing or whatever. So it could go in that direction, and I'll feel a little bit like disappointed or like I don't belong or something, just slightly, the slightest hurt. And sometimes it goes in this other direction where I'm like elated because like somebody gives me a big hug because my dad was their teacher, or like they just were like, I haven't seen you since you were this tall. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it's just this like moment of just like, oh my God, like there's nothing like that feeling of somebody like really reaffirming that you belong or you're a part of the community and stuff. And so it feels good. But I also realized that while I was going through these identity issues, I would have this kind of this, not pattern, but just sort of riding a wave of feeling like disappointed and elated and disappointed and elated. And so I realized that I needed to like process that stuff so that no matter how somebody reacted to me, I just didn't take it as personally, or had a solidness of like, I'm here and I'm, sometimes people are gonna like, whatever it is, I'm gonna seem like I don't belong for some reason, or I'll make some faux pas that is very cringy or whatever, and I'll have to think about it when I'm trying to sleep or whatever at night, or the worst moments possible. Like I just think of that embarrassing moment. Yeah. Like I've made, there have been like some slip ups I've had, or things I just like sounded so ignorant or something. And, but it doesn't mean I need to like if I'm dwelling in that hurt, then I'm not serving my community. Like if I'm like walking around with white guilt everywhere, then I'm not like serving anybody. I'm just drawing energy from other people, being like, do I belong, do I belong, do I belong, or whatever. And so to like process it fully, like I guess I want to give people permission, if they have like, no matter like what their identity is, if they have questions of like whether they belong in their community, that it is a worthy pursuit to like reflect on that yourself, so that you can process it and move past it, so that you can be like more of an agent of like positivity in your community, rather than somebody that like, sometimes people I feel like if they're concerned that they don't belong, they overdo it and they like try to get into spaces that they don't really belong in, and it's like they're almost hurting themselves because they are trying to talk really loud about like there's always like this moment with like when the muktuk comes out, and like there's white people in the room, somebody will be like, "Oh, I love Mukta." It's all